1975, Ric Flair survived a horrifying crash that doctors said would end his wrestling career forever. His back was broken in 3 places. The pilot died. Johnny Valentine was paralyzed. But Flair's real tragedy wasn't the crash. It was what he became after surviving it. Within 3 months, Flair returned to wrestling. He couldn't be the power brawler he once was, so he became something else. He became the Nature Boy, a character so over the top, so flashy, so arrogant that it changed wrestling forever. But here's the problem. Ric Flair never stopped being the Nature Boy. Even when the cameras turned off, the persona that made him famous also destroyed his life. Flair lived like a millionaire even when he was broke. He partied like a rock star even when it nearly killed him. He treated people like they were beneath him even when it ruined his relationships forever. Let's start with his marriages. 5 of them. All ended in divorce. His first marriage to Leslie Goodman lasted from 1971 to 1983. His second wife, Elizabeth Harrell, was with him from 1983 to 2006. This was his longest relationship. It was also his most bitter divorce. Elizabeth accused him of cruel and barbarous treatment. She said he physically abused her. She also claimed he exposed his genitals to friends and strangers. The divorce was messy and public. Both parties made serious accusations against each other. Flair accused Elizabeth of assaulting him and being verbally abusive. The court ordered Flair to pay Elizabeth over $700,000 in a lump sum. He also had to pay ongoing alimony. His 4th marriage to Jacqueline Beams from 2009 to 2014 was even worse. Multiple domestic violence allegations marked this relationship. In February 2010, less than a year into their marriage, Beams was arrested. She allegedly attacked Flair and left him hospitalized. He had visible blood and bruises. Police were called again in June 2012 for another domestic dispute. After their divorce, Beams was accused of stalking Flair's new girlfriend, Wendy Barlow, in 2013. A warrant was issued for her arrest. But the marriages were just the beginning. Flair's real problems were money and alcohol. He spent double what he made even during his peak earning years. Private jets, limousines, designer suits he wore only once, heavy partying that never stopped. This lifestyle was unsustainable, but Flair couldn't stop. He failed to pay taxes in the 1980s and 1990s. His tax bill reached nearly $1 million. The IRS was after him. Vince McMahon had to bail him out of this massive debt. This wasn't charity. Flair worked for half-nothing for years just to pay McMahon back. He was essentially an indentured servant to WWE. His business ventures were disasters too. Ric Flair Finance was supposed to make him rich. Instead, it was shut down by North Carolina for being completely illegal. Flair didn't have a broker's license. He was running a financial business without proper credentials. Lawsuits followed immediately. He had to file for bankruptcy to protect himself. 5 divorces meant hefty alimony payments and massive legal costs. Each marriage that ended cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. By 2025, his net worth was only $500,000. For a man who claimed to be styling and profiling, that's embarrassing. That's poverty by celebrity standards. The alcohol made everything worse. Flair admitted to drinking 20 drinks a day during his heaviest periods. He claimed he wasn't an alcoholic because he never drank while working. That's classic denial. That's not how addiction works. He believed his success and fame meant he couldn't be an alcoholic. He was completely wrong. The drinking directly caused alcoholic cardiomyopathy. This condition weakens the heart muscles. He suffered kidney failure and near congestive heart failure. His body was shutting down from decades of abuse, but he still couldn't admit he had a problem. Then came May 5th, 2002. The plane ride from hell. WWE wrestlers were returning from a show in London on a chartered Boeing 757. There was an open bar on the flight. Exhausted wrestlers started drinking heavily during the 7-hour flight. What happened next nearly ended Flair's career decades later. 2 female flight attendants, Terilyn Capilano and Heidi Doyle, accused Flair of sexual harassment. They said he exposed himself to them without consent. They said he grabbed their hands and forced them to touch his genitals against their will. Scott Hall and Curt Hennig were fired for their involvement in other incidents. Goldust and Flair were reprimanded by the company. Flair denied the accusations at first, But when the story was covered in Dark Side of the Ring in 2021, more disturbing details emerged. Doyle gave a detailed account of what happened. She said Flair put her hand on his genitals and pushed her against the plane's back door. She felt unable to move or escape him. The documentary claimed Flair stripped down to a wrestling robe and walked down the aisle. He was spinning his penis around like a helicopter in front of passengers and crew. When confronted about the specific detail, Flair later admitted the helicopter description was accurate. He blamed drinking too much and being inappropriate. His half-hearted apology wasn't enough. WWE settled out of court with both women in 2004. The company paid them money to keep quiet and avoid a public trial. But when the story resurfaced in 2021, companies dropped Flair immediately. CarShield paused his commercial campaign. WWE removed his merchandise from their shop. The settlement that seemed to fix everything in 2004 meant nothing when public opinion turned against him. The incident shows how Flair's persona bled into real life in the worst ways. The Nature Boy was supposed to be outrageous on TV, but Flair couldn't turn it off. He thought real life was just another performance where he could do whatever he wanted to, whoever he wanted. His backstage conflicts were just as bad. He wrote in his autobiography that Mick Foley was just a glorified stuntman. This was a profound insult to Foley's contributions to wrestling. When Foley refused to shake his hand backstage, Flair punched him. This real-life animosity was later turned into a storyline for their 2006 feud. He had a physical fight with Eric Bischoff in WWE in 2003. Flair punched him about 4 times backstage. Their conflict stemmed from Bischoff's controversial decisions during his time running WCW. Bischoff had tried to change Flair's persona, suggesting a Spartacus gimmick and demanding he shave his head. He also wanted Flair to take a pay cut. Scott Steiner went on an unapproved rant calling Flair a jealous old bastard and an ass-kissing, butt-sucking bastard. Steiner accused him of orchestrating Steve Austin's firing from WCW. Flair denied this accusation, but Steiner chased Flair through a parking lot at a WCW Thunder taping. Years later, Steiner still maintains his hatred for Flair. Vince Russo humiliated Flair on WCW television multiple times. Russo's shock jock booking style created chaotic storylines. He made Flair lose a retirement match to Russo himself and David Flair, Ric's own son. After the match, Flair was beaten up and his head was shaved on live television. Russo also publicly mocked Flair for collapsing in the ring due to an inner ear problem. These weren't just storylines. These were real feuds with genuine anger and resentment. Flair's arrogance and ego made enemies everywhere he went. Some of these relationships were later repaired, but the damage was done. His reputation backstage was toxic for years. The worst tragedy came in 2013. His youngest son, Reed, died from a drug overdose at age 25. Reed wanted to follow his father into wrestling. He had talent and charisma. He even got a spot in WWE's developmental system, but his personal struggles with addiction got him released from the company. Flair blamed himself completely for Reed's death. He said he made Reed his best friend instead of being a good parent. This guilt consumed him. Reed's death sent Flair into the worst spiral of his life. His drinking got dramatically worse after Reed died. He started day drinking from 10 in the morning until 2 a.m. every day. The alcohol became his way of coping with unbearable grief. His daughter Charlotte became a wrestling star, partly to honor Reed's memory and inspire him to stay clean. But Reed died before he could see her success. In August 2017, Flair's health finally caught up with him. He was hospitalized with severe stomach pains. His condition quickly deteriorated. He went into kidney failure and near congestive heart failure. Doctors gave his family a grim 20% chance of survival. He was put in a medically induced coma for days. Surgeons had to remove part of his bowel. A pacemaker was inserted to regulate his failing heart. All of this damage was directly caused by years of heavy drinking. Flair said this health crisis was worse than the 1975 plane crash that started everything. It was worse than being struck by lightning. The Nature Boy persona that made him famous had nearly killed him. But even this brush with death wasn't enough to make him stop wrestling or drinking completely. In July 2022, at age 73, Flair had what he promoted as his final match. He teamed with his son-in-law Andrade against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. During the match, Flair passed out twice from severe dehydration. His body couldn't handle the physical stress anymore. But that wasn't the worst part. In 2023, he discovered he had suffered a legitimate heart attack during the match. The storyline heart attack he pretended to have for drama actually happened. The irony was cruel and terrifying. He nearly died entertaining people who paid to see him wrestle. Flair has been diagnosed with skin cancer twice in recent years. He's had multiple heart surgeries, his body is breaking down from decades of abuse, but he still can't stay retired permanently. Financial necessity keeps bringing him back to wrestling events and appearances. The saddest part is how Flair's persona trapped him completely. The Nature Boy was supposed to be a character he played, but Flair lived it so completely that he couldn't separate himself from it anymore. He spent money he didn't have because the Nature Boy had to appear wealthy. He drank himself nearly to death because the Nature Boy had to party harder than anyone. He treated people badly because the Nature Boy was supposed to be better than everyone else. His legacy in wrestling is undeniable. He influenced generations of performers with his charisma and technical ability. His promos were legendary. His matches were classics. But his personal life is a cautionary tale of what happens when you let a fictional character consume your real identity. Flair has announced multiple retirements followed by inevitable comebacks. Each return makes his previous farewell seem meaningless and cheap. Fans and critics say these comebacks have tarnished his legacy permanently. His 2008 retirement match against Shawn Michaels was supposed to be the perfect ending to his career. Instead, it became just another lie when he returned to wrestling for money. Today, Ric Flair is still alive but barely surviving. His net worth is embarrassingly low for someone of his fame. His health is failing rapidly. His reputation is permanently damaged by decades of controversies and poor decisions. He created one of the most iconic characters in entertainment history. The Nature Boy will live forever in wrestling lore. But that same character destroyed the man who brought him to life. The Nature Boy was supposed to represent the best life had to offer. In the end, he became Ric Flair's worst enemy and greatest tragedy.